We were lied to by Bobby Webster. He said he didn't want more than 2 rookies going into next season, and that was a lie because the Raptors continue to bring in more and more rookies, trade for draft picks, make signings as Masai Ujiri continues to collect these young prospects, these pieces, and Branden Carlson is the latest to be added to that list. Signed as an undrafted free agent to a 2-way contract. We're going to break down who Branden Carlson is as a 2-way prospect for the Toronto Raptors, why he's one of the more intriguing players in this NBA draft, not necessarily because of lucrative upside, but more so because of cool stories, and how he has some NBA-ready skills, might be a little bit more polished than his draft selection kind of indicates, and why it's just a cool guy that the Raptors have brought in as to fill that 2-way spot that they just let Mohamedou Gueye go. So that definitely pointed to the Raptors making some of these selections, and I really like this pickup because, again, let's dive into who he is as a player. So Branden Carlson, 7 foot, not crazy uber athlete, but coming out of Utah, he's a guy 7 foot, 220 pounds, 25 years old. So you're drafting this guy as a rookie, not because of some lucrative, insane upside. The same way we're looking at Ehrlich, right? Coming out of the NBA Africa League. This guy is coming in as more, I don't want to say a finished product, but a more polished player, an older guy that went through the whole sort of steamroll of college and had some pretty intriguing stats. I mean, looking at the stats, it's a little bit tiny here right now, but in his final season for Utah, averaged 17 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, down from his previous season, the season prior, but shot 37% from behind the 3-point line, which is a positive there, or 38% if you round up at that point. And he's regarded as one of those guys that's a really nice shooter, right? 7 foot, can space the floor, has nice touch around the basket, and can do a lot of things, especially on the offensive end. And his advanced stats are looking pretty positive as well, especially where there has been a lot of concern about his defense. But in terms of box plus minus, in terms of WARP, in terms of defensive win shares, they're all in the positive. So, I mean, not horrific, at least in regards to the advanced stats. Again, advanced stats, I think, get used to paint wild narratives all the time, always get taken out of context, and don't always tell the whole story, but they are something to look at because, again, a lot of the trash and a lot of the bagging on this guy is because he's not that elite of a defender and how he'll translate into the NBA, but he is definitely a guy that I am intrigued by, especially being a 7-footer that can space the floor. Now, the Raptors do have a guy that can kind of mentor him here now at this point in Kelly Olynyk. I mean, they look fairly similar. I was trying to bring up that graphic instead of that one there. Similar look, similar feel, the long hair, long, tall, white guy shooting threes and stuff. So definitely a player that could come in and has that NBA ready 3-point jump shot and NBA ready size, touch, especially on the offensive end. But basically, the scouting reports indicate him as a very interesting prospect. Essentially, although Carlson is already 25 years old, he's still an interesting prospect with his ability to space the floor as a 7-footer. Even as that becomes more common in players across the league, having bigs who can score from beyond the arc is still very valuable, and the 5th-year senior earned all Pac-12 first-team honors last season, and he's one of the better bigs in the entire country. He graduated from Utah as the program's all-time leading scorer in games played as well as blocks. So he blocks a few shots as well, which is encouraging there for a big man prospect. But when evaluating Carlson's fit at the next level, you must consider his lack of athleticism. He may struggle defensively in space and is more of a pick and pop threat than some teams will have him rolling to the rim. He knocked down 38% of his triples last season on nearly 5 attempts per game. Meanwhile, he converted on just over 50% of his shots inside the arc and 71% from the free throw line. So a perimeter-oriented game would really serve a niche role for a team's rotation rather than being a nightly piece. So again, a guy that's a floor spacer, can come out there, do different things, and some might look at that and say, hey, you're just bringing in Kelly Olynyk. This is great. Kelly Olynyk can mentor him, can do these types of things. Well, the one thing that he doesn't have that Kelly Olynyk certainly does have in his bag is he's not that much of a facilitator. He's not that much of a passer. And I feel like this is a part of Kelly Olynyk's game, and probably Raptors fans didn't analyze the end of last season too closely, just given we were tanking. It wasn't a great look, and Kelly Olynyk obviously didn't have all of the talent in the world around this Raptors group, but Kelly Olynyk is an elite big man passer. He's a great facilitator, might turn over the ball a little bit, but can dribble the ball as a big man and can facilitate. And that paired alongside his 3-point shot makes him a lot more valuable around the 3-point line, where as this guy kind of is going to come in, Carson, is going to be a strictly kind of spot up shooter. Isn't much of a crazy passer in terms of what the scouting reports, in terms of what they're saying. And we can take a look at the pros and cons list for him as a player as well. Basically, A solid shooter for a big man, has stretch big potential. He's a decent low post scorer. He excels scoring off the ball in motion plays. And he's a decent playmaker. Again, not elite like Kelly Olynyk is at that size. He's a solid shot blocker and above average athlete, which is a bit of a contradiction in terms of what the other reports were saying. But he's a streaky shooter. He can struggle to score in traffic. He needs to improve his rebounding, and he can struggle to guard quicker players, and is old for a draft prospect, so might have limited upside. So basically, that's kind of a summary that one NBA draft board essentially put out in terms of the pros and cons of him as a basketball player. But again, what does this mean? What impact could he have on this Toronto Raptors squad? Because it's tough for these undrafted guys, two-way contract players, to have that impact and, have things coming in. But it's not unheard of for them to have an impact. I mean, Jakob Poeltl was a two-way guy and then got the full-time roster. Looked good there from games when he wasn't purposely selling, but ended up being a successful sort of big man that had an impact on the team. But, before he started tanking and stuff. That's a bad example. I don't know why I'm bringing up Jakob Poeltl here now at this point. Let's hope this man doesn't come out and start betting against the Toronto Raptors. But as a 25-year-old prospect, we know Masai Ujiri's building this team around players that fit the Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley timeline. We are in a retool, we are in a rebuild, but we're not necessarily looking exclusively for the youngest, future-bound prospects. Yes, we probably don't have expectations to be a playoff contender, an elite squad in the Eastern Conference next season, but we want to build around guys that are that 23 to 25-year-old range. So when Scottie Barnes, IQ, RJ Barrett hit their primes, that's when we have a really nice core, a really nice crop of players around them with certain ages. And again, is this player going to be coming out and being a guaranteed win now prospect? It's not guaranteed by any means, but the fact that he is older shouldn't really impact the Raptors, lack of interest in him or things like that. We took our high, long leverage prospect in early Chomche, being that sort of big man prospect in the center position. The one thing you might say is, hey, with this guy coming in here right now, Branden Carlson, will he eat away minutes at the development spot for a guy like Chomche? I think Chomche is going to be in the 905 a ton. Obviously, Carlson will as well, being a two-way guy as well. So basically, there's that thing to be considered, but he's more polished. He can come in, he can space the floor for this Toronto Raptors team, and we don't know the direction. We don't know what we're going to be doing with Jakob Poeltl in the future. Again, there's lots of trade rumors. There's lots of speculation about the Toronto Raptors, potentially moving off him, especially now that we acquired two center prospects in this year's draft, right? We have, with the 31 overall selection, 6'8", so kind of a big man. Probably won't play too much center, but, we're loading up that front court depth a little bit more. But I'm really intrigued about the Raptors sort of group momentum going forward. Again, will Branden Carlson be a guy that's an impact turn this franchise around player? Probably not, but I'm excited to bring in just unique, interesting prospects that bring different things to the game. And, big man that can space the floor, look like Kelly Olynyk. I mean, what better mentor to have, to potentially develop your game at this point. But let me know what you guys think about this draft selection. Again, if you made it this far in the video, it would mean the world to me if you guys hit that subscribe button. 51% of you haven't done it just yet, so I'm sort of showing you that made it to this spot and hit that subscribe button there. But anyways, folks, you guys best. I'm signing out. Cheers.